guys can see my screen, right?
Okay.
Okay. So our storage models right now, or storage platforms, comes from our Lenovo and NetApp Global Alliance. So back 2 years ago, Lenovo and NetApp formed a multi-billion-dollar global alliance. Okay. The reason for that is that so that we can do an OEM of sorts for our storage system. We have two main storage systems. We have our DM series on the left and the DE series on the right. The first thing you're going to notice here is in the middle, it says Lenovo manufactured and Lenovo serviced and support. So this means that these machines are Lenovo machines. They are manufactured by Lenovo and they are supported by Lenovo. So this is not OEM boxes that are made by NetApp. This is made by Lenovo. What comes from NetApp is the operating system. For the DM series, it is ONTAP 9.6. For the DE series, it is Centricity 11.4. So these are tried and tested storage firmware or storage operating systems that we have imported or OEM'd for the DM and the DE series. That gives us now the confidence to come to our customers saying that these may be new storage platforms, but these are trusted storage platforms because the DM series is running version 9.6 and the DE series is running version 11.4, which means these are already late versions. So normally, you know this, you buy any sort of machine, you don't want to buy the version 1 of the firmware because normally that's where all the bugs are. That's where you don't have all the functionalities. These are ninth generation for the DM and 11th generation for the DE. Now, this particular chart shows you a simple breakdown on when to use each. The DE series is SAN only and it is built for high performance. Since it is built for high performance, it does not have all the features and functionalities that some people may be looking for. For example, if you are looking for deduplication, compression, and compaction, the DE series will not have that because it is built for performance. So it is built for high speed. And since it is also built for high speed, you can also use it for simple deployment because it does not have any additional features. The D series is our 1:1 replacement for our DS series before. So it can do SAN, which means it can do fiber channel, iSCSI, and direct attach. This is the DE series. On the DM series, this is now our new portfolio. We can do a lot of different things. We can do unified storage. That means we can do SAN as well as NAS. And we can do it natively without adding any additional hardware. We can do the integrated data protection. We can do the storage efficiencies. We can do storage level application integration. And we can show you all the other functionalities later. So basically, if you need speed or simplicity, you go DE. If you need unified or a lot of different functionalities, you go DM. And I can help you with that in the future if you need help on positioning. Are there any questions so far? Okay, good.
Go
Let me
on,
know.
Brian, go on.
For the DE series, these are our options or our models. We have the DE2000H, the DE4000H, DE4000F, DE6000H, and the DE6000F. So if you have an H, that means it is hybrid. It can accept both hard drives and SSDs. For F, it is all flash. It will only accept SSDs. And as you can see, as you go from D2000 to D6000, the maximum performance in terms of IOPS goes from 100,000 maximum to 300,000 maximum to 1 million IOPS maximum. Again, these are the maximum IO numbers. Our positioning will still be based on the required IOPS by the customer. This is how it looks like for the DE2000. So it is a 2U device. Behind it, you have the two controllers and the two power supplies. And then you can choose between a 24 bay or the shown 12 bay or 12 disc enclosure for the controller. The DE4000 would have something very similar, but now it introduces an option for the 4U60 drive enclosure. So this is the one. It's much bigger. It is 4U in size, but it can hold a maximum of 60 drives. And the D6000 also provides an option for that. This is how the 4U60 drive enclosure looks like in the front. And inside you have um, 5 rows, each row having the ability to support 12 drives. So normally we use large capacity drives for this. Some of the features in terms of operating system. So we have the usual snapshot and volume copy. We have the ability to do mirroring. We have the ability to do thin provisioning. And we have the ability to do encryption. Some of the other things of note here, SSD cache, that means if we use um, hard drives and we need more performance, we can actually add in SSDs to use as cache. So for the DE series and the DM series, we do not use auto tiering. So no auto tiering, what we use is caching in order to get the desired IOPS. So if you have a customer or a competitive quote that uses auto tiering, we will have to convert that into something that requires caching instead. Caching is when you use SSDs to house a copy of the hot data, while tiering is when you move the actual hot data up and down. And then we also have dynamic disk pools that allows us faster rebuilds. This is the bulk of the DE SAN functionalities. And as you can see, it's not a lot because the DE is designed for simplicity and performance. So for example, for the dynamic disk pools, this allows us to stripe our RAID across more drives. So normally if you do RAID, you will say RAID 5, 4 plus 1, RAID 6, 4 plus 2, and then you create multiple RAIDs out of that. This one, if you have, for example, 20 drives, you can stripe your RAID across all 20, and you will also be striping your parity drives or your parity slice across all the 20 drives or the 24 drives in this case. So that if you have um, a particular drive that goes down, all the 20 remaining 23 drives help in the rebuild. That's why it's faster. So that is it. The dynamic disk pools is a different kind of RAID that you can actually use, or you can use as a spec in if you want to spec in for your particular customer requirement. Let's get that. So we do have the options to do snapshots, volume copy, and the remote mirroring. We can do both asynchronous and synchronous, although for each, we will have a separate license for it. So it's an add-on license. So obviously, if you want to go with a synchronous mirroring option, you will need bandwidth that is pretty high in terms of pretty high in terms of performance. That means if you have a server, you do a write to option to volume A. Before it goes to the server and says it has written the data block to volume A, it will first write to the mirror copy on the other side. It will go back, and then it will then say, let's proceed. That's why the latency between the two has to be a bit better, 10 milliseconds or less for synchronous replication. For asynchronous, it is scheduled replication. You can have a lower performance in terms of the bandwidth for connection. Any questions so far? Okay. Do let me know if there are any questions, especially if you want to compare it to the DS, for example. And the end of the DE series section. So the value proposition is number one, extreme performance. If you are after a certain number of IOPS, 100,000, 150,000, 90,000 IOPS, this is where the DE series shines. Unmatched value performance and price. So as I mentioned, the DE series is basically a speed driven platform. It is a race car. So if you are looking for a lot of other functionalities, it's not there. The race car provides you speed, and because of that, it provides you unmatched value for either performance, if you want to look at it at dollars per IOPS, and price, if you want to look at it at dollars per capacity. And then lastly, proven simplicity. If your customer needs SAN storage, 20 terabytes, SAN storage, 40 terabytes, you position your DE series. If your customer needs SAN storage, 20 terabytes, and they want some other things, we position our DM. Okay? So again, for simple, straightforward SAN and for high performance, position the D. Now for the DM series, we now have several options. We have the DM 3000, DM 5000, DM 7000. We now have H for hybrid and F for all flash. And then we also have our DM 3000 and 5000 fundamentals, which is a mini version of the DM 3000 and 5000H here. So don't worry about this. If you have any sort of storage requirements, please always do loop me in, and I will let you know when to use the fundamentals. Okay? But here, this is our lineup for the DM series. So the DM series is all about ONTAP. ONTAP is the software that we are using, and we are at ONTAP 9. And what is our value proposition? Our value proposition is our ability to provide an ONTAP data fabric. So before, when we talk about storage, they would always talk about one storage. So my storage array can do this IOPS, it has this feature, it can scale to this how much. It's always one storage. It's a house. And you want to show off your house and all its features. But right now, it is no longer a discussion of houses. It's a discussion of communities. It's a discussion of cloud. Huh? So everybody now is always thinking about cloud. And now our advantage is our ability to provide a storage in the enterprise and then now connect it over to an on-prem cloud, connect it over to a public cloud, connect it to different sorts of clouds, connect it to another um, site, and now you're able to move your data around. That is the key strength of our ONTAP data fabric. And I'll show you some of the features that make it very, very powerful in the enterprise. Four main reasons to go with the DM series. Number one, unified storage. That means we can do SAN as well as NAS, which is very powerful. Number two is data protection. We can do sync, we can do it, we can do a lot of things. Number three is application integration, the ability for us to integrate our storage very closely with the application that the customer is running. And number four is hybrid cloud, the ability to tier to the cloud and the ability to replicate to the cloud. So I'll move on. If there are any questions, please do let me know. So unified storage. The strength of our DM series is our ability to do unified storage. That means we can do both SAN and NAS on one storage system. At the back, you will have you can put in ports for both 16 gig FC, 10 gig iSCSI, and 1 gig NAS if that is the requirement. You can do it all at the same time. There is no additional license needed. I am also showing here another DM, this time a hybrid DM, again using spinning drives instead of SSDs. And we can actually connect them via a 10 gig switch. And we can actually cluster them together to form a storage cluster. So storage cluster is very similar to a hyperconverged cluster. So once you have clustered them together, they will be one storage cluster. You can move your data back and forth without any change on the host side. And then we will discuss the various things that you can do here. Some of the included software would be as follows. So you can see here, there's so many software included. I have some slides for some of them, but I'll run through each one very quickly. Unified SAN and NAS, so ability to support both block and file. Flex Group, the ability to scale um, from one storage to a storage cluster. RAID DP and RAID TEC are our RAID configurations. Snap Mirror is for array-based replication, both synchronous and asynchronous. Metro Cluster is our highest level of protection, is synchronous replication with automatic failover. Inline deduplication, inline compression, flex clone. All of these are included as part of the premium bundle. No additional license needed. Second page, these are still included. We have here volume encryption, quality of service, flash cache, flash pool, snap restore, and snap center. All included. So I have some slides after this to discuss some of the key ones. And then our optional offerings, we have here Flex Array for virtualization, Fabric Pool, ability for us to tier to the cloud, SnapLock, the ability for us to do compliance on certain important files, and then on-command insights that allow us management for hybrid cloud environment. Are there any questions so far? Okay,
Brian,
thank you.
Brian, I have one question about ability mix DM flat and hybrid storage in a system. So could you but let's try.
This one?
No, one more.
This one.
No, one more. Yeah, that's right. So as you said on flash DM can mix with hybrid DM, right? In one system.
So what I said earlier is that you can have an all flash, you can have a
Yeah.
hybrid,
Yes.
and then you can connect them via a 10 gig switch to form a storage cluster.
Oh, okay.
And this 10 gig switch is different from the switch you will normally use to connect to the servers. This is
Yes.
it for its own communication.
Yes. Okay, I clear. Thank you. So everybody have question for Freya.
Okay. So for the rest of the presentation, I will be discussing all the capabilities of the DM. As you will see and you will realize, it has a lot of things it can do. A lot. So that's why I'm telling you, if you have any requirements, look me in. I will help you because there's a lot. And I know you will not be able to remember all of it, but at least you will remember that if it's DE, it is performance. It's DM, it can do a lot. That's all you have to remember. So going on,
Going on, yes,
volume
go on, yes.
encryption. We have volume encryption as part of the base bundle. It is software-based data at rest, no additional license, and the customer can use this as anytime. Our on-tap RAID technologies, so we no longer use the RAID 4. We use RAID DP for 2 concurrent drive failures and RAID TEC protecting against 3 concurrent drive failures. RAID TEC is automatically used for large capacity drives. So that's 6 terabyte, 8 terabyte, 10 terabyte drives, and everything else RAID DP is the default or the standard. We do not use RAID 5, RAID 6, or RAID 10. Do not. Also for the DM, it is different because when you buy it in terms of drive packs. So you cannot buy a DM with only 4 drives or 5 drives. It will be based on a drive pack of 6 or 12. So more often than not, your enclosure will be half full or full enclosure. You cannot put in, let's say, 11 drives. So that is the reason also. So there's a preset RAID and a preset drive pack. That's why I told you, if you need any help, you let me know. It's a bit confusing at first, but in reality, this will simplify things for the customer. Okay, so no RAID 10, no RAID 5, no RAID 6. We are giving them a better RAID in terms of RAID DP and RAID TEC because RAID DP protects against 2 drives going down, RAID TEC protects against 3 drives going down. Hold on, give me 5 seconds, please. Yep, and I'm back. So yes, so versus a RAID 5, 6, or 10, we protect against more drives going down. And RAID is all about protection. Huh? Protection. Now, there are some customers who will say, I want to use RAID 10 for performance. And so that's why I keep on telling my customers and partners here, RAID is about protection. If you want to talk about performance, it's on another slide. But protection will be about RAID. So you can choose to protect against 2 drives going down or 3 drives going down. Now, in terms of performance, we now have 2 types. We can go flash cache or flash pool. Flash cache is controller level cache. That means in your controller, each controller, so we have 2 controllers, each controller will have automatically a 1 terabyte NVMe cache. No additional thing to do, no license needed, nothing. It's already there and it's running. So that means for the DM series, we have 2 terabytes, 1 terabyte for each controller. That acts as controller level cache. So again, cache is when you keep a copy of the hot data, a copy and not the actual data. Okay, so that's 2 terabytes NVMe already out of the box. Now, if the customer says, I need more performance than that, then we can look at flash pool, which is storage level cache. That means we can put in additional SSDs and we can assign them as additional cache. Again, to meet a certain amount of IOPS from the customer. So if the customer says, I need something fast, the first thing I will try to do is I will have them define it in terms of a number of IOPS. So for example, people always tell me I am tall, right? Me, Brian, I'm tall. But you can't just say you are tall. If someone asks you how tall you are, you can't say very, very tall. You cannot say that. So I have to say I am 5'10". There's a number, right? What's your score on the exam? Oh, I got very, very high. You cannot say that. you have to say 92 or 95. So there has to be a number. So this one, we already give them 2 terabytes of NVMe flash cache that will help with the performance. So depending on the IOPS that they're after, we can then add additional IOPS via SSDs. Any questions so far? Okay. Shrink your storage footprint. So we have the ability to do our storage efficiencies. We have inline zero block deduplication, inline adaptive compression, inline deduplication again, and then inline data compaction, all to make the, so it's basically deduplication, compression, and compaction, the ability for us to compress our data blocks. So again, as you can see from our storage story 2 years ago, now we have so many of these features and functionalities. Okay, so this is one of the things that we were always looking for. So we are now able to reduce the capacity required um, from the raw capacity, the raw usable capacity to an effective capacity. So again, this is dependent on the data type that the customer is using, whether they are saving documents, databases, PDFs, video, there will be a corresponding amount of deduplication ratio. So we are able to shrink the storage, supposedly. Flex clone is our ability to create clones from an existing volume. So if we have a volume here, we can actually do a mirrored copy and then we can provide multiple clones very quickly to the customer. Normally used for R&D and dev tests. Storage quality of service is our capability to provide quality of service. That means we can protect volumes in terms of providing minimum and maximum. So for example, I have this particular volume. This particular volume is being used to store video files, and everybody is having fun because it stores a lot of movies. So a lot of performance. Oh, please, sorry, wait. I saw something on the chat. Let me take a look. Yes. So please ask Brian as much as you can to learn more on this. So yes. So if you have any questions, please do let me know. If you have any questions after this presentation, you can also send me an email. I am very happy to help you with any questions. And then again, if you have any requirements, please join me in the requirements. Of course, you are still the owner of the requirement. You are still in charge, but share with me everything. I am like the detective for you, and you can think of me as your outsourced detective. You share me the requirement, I'll take a look at it, and then I'll just whisper to you my recommendations, right? In terms of what we should ask for, what they are looking at. This requirement is pointing to an HP or a Dell offering, or what we can do to make it different. Okay. Again, if you have any questions now, let me know. If you have questions after, please send me an email, and I will answer as long as I'm free. I will answer. Okay. Thank you for that. Yeah. So maybe don't feel pressured to have a question right now. I will also send you a PDF copy on this so that you can review it on your own, and maybe you can discuss it on your own there. And then if you have questions on a specific functionality, you can ask me questions there. Okay. So anything for me to help. So now, for example, this gray one houses movie files, and obviously everybody is accessing it. And it's not important because it's just movie files. And we want to be able to control. We can actually use quality of service, QoS, to say that you are eating up too much performance. Your maximum IOPS is 3,000, so that you will not eat up all the performance of this particular storage system. This one, the blue one, is payroll. So it's our application to compute for our payments and our salaries. And of course, it's not always being used, but we want to ensure performance. So we say, you, Mr. Blue, as payroll, I want to ensure 5,000 IOPS. Whether you are being used or not, you will have 5,000 IOPS dedicated to you. So we can actually do those for selected applications. Obviously, we do not do that for all the applications, only for the selected ones, right? So we want to be able to ensure that there is enough performance for all the volumes. And so we can choose to provide a minimum performance and maximum performance. Data protection. So obviously we can do both disaster recovery and we can do backup. For backup, it is the usual backup to tape, but we do have an option for backup to disk as well. And then for disaster recovery, we can do synchronous and asynchronous replication. The name of our functionality is Snap Mirror. Snap Mirror is our replication technology that allows us to replicate via flash, via disk, via cloud, and excuse me, can be used for data centers, remote office, branch office, and for the cloud. So we can do asynchronous. So we can do it one way. We can do bi-directional. You can use an all flash on one side and then a hybrid on another side. No problem. And again, this particular functionality is already built in as default. So here are some of the topologies. You can do one is to one. You can do multiple data centers, fan out. You can do fan in, and you can do cascading. So you can do synchronous replication here first, and then asynchronous to another data center that is much further away. As you can see, we have leveled up in terms of our capabilities. And this is one of the primary reasons why we have partnered with NetApp 2 years ago, so that we are now able to provide more features to our storage and more benefits for our customers. Metro cluster now is our highest level of availability. This is synchronous replication, like I discussed earlier, but with automatic failover. That means if this particular node, this particular storage goes down, automatically the servers will see that it is down and it will automatically connect here, and there is no change, no disruption. So normally, when you have a replication set up like this, for any of your customers, it is still a manual failover. That means if your primary data center goes down, someone has to do the clicking so that the DR site or the secondary data center is up and running. This one provides it automatically. And again, this is our highest level of availability. We can do it both for SAN and NAS, and we can do it both on fiber channel and IP. But again, you will need a very fast connectivity here to be able to do the synchronous replication. Again, this is one of our key advantages. Not everybody has the ability for synchronous replication and automatic failover. Any questions on this?
Yeah, I have one question about 10 millisecond for synchronous replication over fiber channel or IP network. So, with another vendor, they offer to me about 30 millisecond. Why Lenovo offer to customer 10 millisecond for synchronous? This,
Okay. So the recommendation here of 10 milliseconds is just that. It's a recommendation. Obviously, if you have a 20 millisecond bandwidth in between, it will still work, but it will be slower. Because again, as I mentioned, if you have a database here, when I write to the storage, normally without replication, you have your database write to the storage, and the storage will automatically say, I have written what you have asked me to write. But with replication and it's synchronous, database writes here, he will have to write there, he will have to say, I have written it, he will have to say, I have written it. So this one will play a role. And if you have 20 milliseconds instead of 10, just means that it will be slower.
Yes, yes, I can I understand from you.
Yep. So again, I'm also very careful to answer because you mentioned something a while ago. When you asked the question, you said someone else said 20 milliseconds. That's right. So whenever someone else says it, um, I will always say, "Oh, thank you for that." We never tell the customer, "Oh, our competition is terrible." We never say that. We always say, "Thank you. Yes, they're good also, but we're better." It's always like that. Yeah, Dell, they're good. We're better. Uh, HP, yeah, that's nice, but we're better. So when they say 20 milliseconds, I'd want to find out who said it and how they said it. Because sometimes it might be that the customer read it somewhere and I don't want to say, Mr. Customer, you're wrong. So I will say, yes, that's right. We can also do that, but it will be slower. So that's how I normally answer. So just be careful when the customer tells you, I heard someone say this. So you still answer very politely, very politely, even if it's competition. I've had some cases before that the customer said, "Oh, Dell said that they can do this faster." And then I will just smile and say, "That's nice, Mr. Customer." And then I will have them explain the statement because, again, this is our statement. I'm not saying that other people are wrong. I'm not saying we are right. I'm saying this is our recommendation. If they have a 20 millisecond recommendation, I'd want to see it, Mr. Customer, so that I can study it. So that's going to be our answer. It's always it depends. There. Okay? And of course, if you have any customer, especially now that there's a pandemic, more and more people are going towards con calls, webinars, and web meetings. If you have a web meeting for storage that you need my expertise, or you need me to listen in. Sometimes I don't even have to talk. I can just listen in, right? Again, you guys are in charge. You can loop me in, and I can help you. Okay, especially for those conversations that like that for the 20 millisecond ones. Those are more advanced. Sometimes um, the secret is in another question. So there's other questions we still have to ask the customer. But thank you for that question. That means you guys are listening. You're still there. Okay. Now for Snapball. Oh, sorry. Are there any other questions on this? So just like what the poster and what everybody says online, especially for here, if I'm training, there are no stupid questions. Okay. If you think you have a question you don't understand, you think, it's so stupid, I won't ask. You can ask it. It's okay. I won't get mad. It's okay. At least we answer the questions. Because if you have a question and yeah, I'll answer it. Okay? Okay. Snap Vault is an additional functionality. So if we have our primary data center and we have a DM storage already, and the customer wants to do a backup, normally they use a backup software like Symantec, Commvault, Veeam. They will use those. Now, we can also propose a second DM series and then use SnapVault to move in the snapshots from our primary and then keep those as our backup data. So we are now able to provide the customers another option by providing another DM without requiring a Commvault, a Symantec, or a Veeam. So that's what we call as our Snap Vault. We are keeping the snapshot copies so that in case something happens here, we have a snapshot copy here, and then we can actually put this on backup site or a DR site if the customer wants to look at it that way. Okay. Snap Lock, as mentioned, this is one of our add-ons. So this is a additional license required, but this one is for files. So Snap Lock is for files if you want to be able to, for example, if you have a customer that has data that is very important, let's say copies of bank checks, right? And this particular snap lock can lock that particular file so that it cannot be deleted or it cannot be revised. It cannot be edited for a period of 3 months, for a period of 3 years, for a period of 10 years. So it's really for compliance. And we have two options, SnapLock for compliance or SnapLock Enterprise. When you lock a file in compliance, it stays locked in for the 2 years that you have locked it. For enterprise, it will stay locked in for 2 years. But if after 1 year you don't need it anymore, you have a super user that can say, yes, we can delete it earlier than 2 years. So again, these are for customers who require compliance, who need to keep their, especially for those who keeps copies of other customers. So for example, they keep copies of bank records, they keep videos, they um, copies of, for example, birth certificates or any sort of land certificate. This one allows them to lock the file so that it cannot be deleted. Because, of course, someone can come in and just delete the files. Someone can come in and you know how easy it is to edit a PDF right now or to edit a video file. So this one makes sure that the original file is not deleted, not revised, and if, for example, they will need it for legal disclosure, they can ensure that this particular file has not been tampered with. So that is SnapLock. Okay. Moving on to application aware backups. So for example, if you have a customer that is using some of these applications, most especially the databases, SQL Server, Oracle Database, and SAP HANA, obviously for any of these, you can do a snapshot as a point in time copy. However, if you do a point in time copy for a database, it will not work because when you do a point in time copy, you're only capturing the data that is written on the disk. But databases write everything very fast. A lot of things that are happening. And so if you do a snapshot and you capture the ones on disk, but you do not capture the commands the database is writing, you will have an inconsistent copy of your database. And so we are now introducing our Snap Center software. The Snap Center software comes included in our premium bundle. You put it on a separate server. So you put it on a separate physical server or a VM. And then you will put in the plugins into your respective hosts. So specific plugin for SQL Server, Oracle, SAP. And now what happens next is whenever you do a snapshot here, it will now be controlled by the Snap Center server. When you do a snap here, the Snap Center server will say, hey, Mr. Host, we are doing a snapshot. Why don't you quiesce or you pause your database for a millisecond so that we can do our snapshot, and then after we're done with our snapshot, you can continue. This one is very powerful because now it allows you to do a snapshot of your SQL Server, Oracle, and SAP HANA, which before would be very difficult. This is how it looks like in terms of creating your policies and protecting your resources. This is the dashboard view of all your recent jobs and your protection summary. And then here are some examples for Oracle, for example. So here you can see a flow chart of how the backup works, flow chart of how the restore works, and I'm going through these because these are very Oracle specific, and I don't know all of them, but your customer will know them. And then how a clone works, and then the supported configurations. So supported for these particular versions on these particular OS versions with these features included. Snap Center for Microsoft SQL Server, reference architecture here. We have how the SQL backup works. We have how the database is restored, and you can restore it to the same server or to a different server. So if you want to do a second copy, and then supported configuration. Again, so many things that this thing can do. And then SAP HANA, um, this is how it's typically done. So you have your production, dev, test, and DR. You have here a flow chart of how it's done, and then a flow chart of how it is refreshed, and then supported configurations, whether bare metal or VMware. And then here is an example, 2.3 terabyte SAP HANA database. Normally, it is backed up via traditional means in 2 hours and 40 minutes. With an on-tap snapshot using Snap Center, we can do the same backup in 2 minutes and 11 seconds. Backup time being reduced by 99%. So it's very, very powerful. You can also help your customers in terms of backup by having a Snap Center, and then you have your snapshots in place. And then once you have a running validated snapshot, you can now do a lot of things. You can replicate the snapshot, you can snap vault it, you can do all sorts of things and move it everywhere. Yeah, that's for Snap Center and application aware snapshots. Are there any questions? Okay. DM and the hybrid cloud. Okay. So normally people are talking about cloud. Private cloud is you build a cloud for yourself. Public cloud is the cloud providers in the world, Amazon, Google, AWS. Hybrid cloud is a mix, and we are obviously promoting a hybrid cloud setup. That means you can have something on-prem, you can have something, then you can move things around. So our hybrid cloud setup allows us to have our storage. It can talk to an on-prem private cloud. It can talk to an off-prem private cloud, and also to the public cloud providers. Skip this. Skip this. So one of our key options for for hybrid cloud is Fabric Pool. The ability for us to put in an all-flash DM storage here, and then tier inactive data to the cloud. Okay. So what now happens is you have your all flash here, you have your public or private cloud here, and then it will tier all the inactive data blocks there. Okay. So instead of having your all flash here, and then as it grows, the cold data is always growing. Only the small set is active data. What we want is to provide our customers an option to throw it to Azure, to throw it to IBM Cloud, to throw it to Google Cloud, to throw it to Amazon or AWS. Now, keeping only the active data blocks here. When the data is tiered from DM to the cloud, you cannot go into the cloud and read the data. It is still encrypted. It is still deduped, compressed, compacted. You can only read it from the particular DM series that it came from. So end-to-end security, it is if it is encrypted here, it is also encrypted in the cloud, and the duplicate compression and compression compaction all carries over to the cloud. You can also tier it how you want. You can do snapshot tiering. You can do auto tiering policy based on how cold the data blocks are, and then you can also do different types of tiering. So Fabric Pool is an additional license, and you buy it per terabyte of capacity you want to tier to the cloud. Okay? And then the uses you can now leverage on ONTAP 9.6 to leverage to the different private clouds and public clouds, as you can see here, and the new additions, Google Cloud and Alibaba Cloud, if that is in your particular territory. Of course, this requires that your customer already has an account in these particular cloud providers. Okay. And then lastly, we have now our cloud volumes on tap. Cloud volumes allow us to create an on tap volume in the cloud. For example, AWS or Azure. And this particular on tap volume is the same on tap that we are running in our DM series on prem. And because we have this in the cloud, we are now able to do a replication strategy wherein our on-prem DM is replicating to our on-tap in the cloud. And now we have our copy of our data in the cloud. So if anything happens, you can actually switch over to the cloud or switch back to on-prem. Again, very, very powerful. Okay. Yeah. And that's it. That's my presentation. Are there any questions with all the things I discussed?
Yes, thank you, Ryan. So, yeah, I have many questions for Ryan. Mr. Locke,
Okay. Okay. So do let me know if you have any questions. As a summary, so I have here the ability for us to do a lot of things. So you can have one DM first. You can add more enclosures to scale up. You can add another DM and another DM and another DM and connect them as a storage cluster. So by scaling out, you can replicate it to an on-tap cloud. So there's a lot of things you can do. And then in terms of protection, we are now able to protect your DM by having snapshots. You can have a snap vault to move a backup copy to another DM. Oh, sorry. Is that me? Am I the one with the mic problem? Sorry. Okay. And then you can back up the snapshots to another DM. You can also replicate your DM to another DM. You can replicate it also to the cloud. You can archive to the cloud. All of these are our capabilities now around both DM as a platform and then DM as protection or data protection. And that's it. Any questions, guys? Okay. Let me check the chat. Do you have questions for BB? Oh, that's me. Yeah, Brian Berenilia. Yes. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. I'll send a PDF copy of these slides later. So you can, once you receive a copy, you can also go through the slides at your own pace. Cloud tier only for snapshot? Good question. No, it's not. Not only for snapshot. So I'll go back to that. Thank you for that question. Let me go back to that. So once we have this, one of the options is snapshots only. That means if I do a snapshot, automatically it gets sent to the cloud so that it won't eat up space here. That's one option only. But the more option would be if you have here your data, you can actually say tier to the cloud after 60 days it has been created. Tier to the cloud 60 days if it is inactive. So you can do that. No DR with sync, yes or no? What do you mean no DR with sync, sir? Can you type in your clarification? So normally we can do DR with sync. Yes, if that's the question. Definitely. So where is that? Oh, it's so far away. I need DR on cloud. Okay, wait. Hold on. So wait, I'll answer the sync first. So yes, we can do DR on sync. For DR on cloud, this is going to be our setup. So the customer can get from AWS or Azure, the two main cloud providers, and you can actually provide this as an option. I can help also. So anytime we talk about Fabric Pool, tiering to the cloud, DR on cloud, it sounds nice, it sounds easy, but it's my job to help it easier because it's not as easy to set up. But we will set up. It's very much possible, and that's our advantage. This is an advantage. All the other storage providers are still talking fast. We are powerful. We are now providing our customers. You know what? We are very cloud connected. We are very friendly. We can move things around. There's so many things we can do. License cloud tier via TB and provide by Lenovo single point of contact. Yes, when you do Fabric Pool, the first thing you need to do for wait, let me show you. The first thing you need to do for Fabric Pool is number one, the DM has to be all flash. Number one. Number two, you will put in your license for Fabric Pool per terabyte. Let's say if you want to tier 10 terabyte worth, you put it here. Third, you will connect your cloud, AWS or Azure, your account, you will put it here. Once it is connected, it will automatically tier 10 terabytes worth. And then once 10 terabytes is met, it will stop because your license is only for 10 terabytes. Good questions. Thank you for asking those questions. Thank you. Any other questions, guys? So again, if not, I'll send you a copy. Browse through the PDFs. If you have any questions after that, yep, yes,
Hello, Brian.
yes,
Hello.
yes.
Do you have the competitive table between the DS and the DE or DH modem?
The DS and the DE.
Yes, I mean the old storage and the new storage of Lenovo.
We don't have something like that right now, but if you have any requirement, I can help you build it, so to speak. So if you have a DS
Yeah,
before,
we really need it.
oh, DM and DE competitive, it's very difficult. It's very difficult. I wanted to share some slides, but it's very difficult. So it is dependent on the requirement, and then it
Mhm.
is dependent on what the customer, the competitor offers. So for example, if it's Dell, um, the requirement is, let's say they need 100 terabytes for all databases. And then it depends now if Dell offers their Power Vault line, if they offer their Compellent line, if they offer Unity line, and if they Power Max line. It's very, very difficult and very confusing. So in terms of competitive information, I will be your source. Please send me complete slide versus HP and Dell. It doesn't work that way. It cannot work that way. I can work with you on individual opportunities. You tell me the requirement, you tell me the competitive, and I will tell you how to break it. Because you cannot do it's now more difficult. Sometimes you are looking at a DM versus Unity slide, but then because of the requirement, we actually need a DE instead. So I will help you on that. And if we have a requirement that we are competing against a very specific model of Dell, then I will help you with a competitive slide that's very targeted. But right now, if I send you competitive versus HP and Dell, it's going to be 30 slides. It's not going to be helpful. I'm not saying no. Okay? I'm not saying no. I'm just saying that it's a bit trickier than usual. But once we have that, um, I can help you. Again, I want to be able to compete against a very specific competitor in a very specific model. Then, when I know the competing model and I know the requirement, I can provide you insights on what our recommended solution is, and then what is our bullet points that make us better. That's what we're going to do. Okay, so number one first is for us to take a look at the requirement. And this is especially true, again, it's not just you guys, everybody does it, even the partners here, the distributors here. They will say, Brian, we have a requirement, 50 terabytes. And we're like, yay, what is the requirement? And they say, I don't know, but Dell provided this. Can we do a competitive? And it's very difficult. It's very difficult. We need to know the requirement, right? I always tell the story. I will tell the doctor, Doctor, my mother is sick. The other doctor in the other town gave this medicine. What medicine will you recommend, doctor? And then the doctor I'm talking to will say, can I see the patient? And then you say, no, doctor, you cannot. But give me a medicine. I'm like, it's very difficult for the doctor to give medicine to the patient if he cannot see the patient. And so what the doctor will just say, oh, okay, if I cannot see the patient, the other doctor gave this, I will give this. It's very difficult because number one, what if the other doctor was wrong? What if the 50 terabyte requirement is actually only is 100 terabytes, and then we're both wrong? So we need to find out the requirement, and then we need to find out what the competitor is also doing, and then we can now shoot the particular competitor or shoot down the particular offering. Okay, sorry, that was a very,
Thank you.
very long answer.
Yes.
Yes.
No, I have no question, but I want you introduce more about VM and VH series because Mr. Lộc asked you last weekend. Do you remember it? Mr. Lộc want researching into VM and VH series for competitive HPE and Dell MC. Do you have it?
Which one? Sorry.
Wait me.
Bạn chạy đâu rồi Quang ơi?
Ủa, chị Quỳnh đó, chị hỏi anh Lộc coi có cần bạn share cho cái file VS Rail cái file training của Thin Azure VS platform không? Để anh hỏi anh luôn đi chứ sao? Chị Quỳnh ơi.
Có em ạ. Anh Lộc cũng đang online đấy.
Chị hỏi Lộc coi cần em hỏi nó luôn đi không? Chị hỏi anh Lộc coi xem ok không?
Ok.
Hold on, let me check. Let me take a look at this. I saw something in the chat. Trying to make it bigger. Uh, yes, yes. For the Think Agile VX, I've already started on the PowerPoint, and I'll be sending it. Yes, yes. I understand. I will send it right after 30 minutes after this call, and I will be sending it. I understand. I started working on it yesterday for the VX platform. But again, as I mentioned earlier, you will need to also ask for the requirements. So this is the classic case of converting based on what the competitor did. And so if the competitor is giving 26 nodes, we can also provide 26 nodes, same specs. But it is best to, it is our opening. It is our opening to show that show the customer that the competitor is wrong. Imagine if they gave us the requirement and then they say, oh, Dell gave us 26 nodes. And then we can do our sizing and we can give him something for 22 nodes only. So that's our opening to show. We need key lock to lock the tender. Please help to suggest on this too. That's very important. So, sorry, not DH, DM. So DE and DM. So for DE and DM, yes, if you need a tender help, please let me know. Give me a copy of the, again, if we have the requirements, yeah. So if you have the requirements and then if you have a standard template that the customer uses, please share it with me. I will add in our specs. I'd want to see how they also write things down. But we do. I'm that point person. I can help you write it down. I also have people in the storage team who can help us if it becomes a bit more complex. So yes, definitely. In terms of locking the tender or specking in the tender, yes, we can help you on that. So again, just I include me in the emails. Just keep on including me. If you need me, you can email me or you can WhatsApp me or you can set up a webinar like this or a Zoom call or a WebEx call. Now that's a lot easier because everybody's doing virtual. Okay? But please share me the information. You share me the information on email. I can reply with whatever other information we still can ask, etc., etc. We'll help you with the sizing. We can help with the tender specs and so on. Okay, thanks. Understand. Thank you. So there, I just want to explain to everybody. I'm not making it more difficult. I'm just going through the proper way because, for example, um, this opportunity to be able to look at each opportunity and size for each opportunity. Do you have any more questions? Yeah.
No, I don't have question for you right now. Thank you,
Okay.
guys. Oh, okay, thank for everything. So, guys, any question for Ren before we end now? So, Ren, thank for everything, but I think my team don't have question for you right now.
Okay. Again, if you have any questions after this call, even if it's a small one,
Yes.
I send me an email, drop me an email. I'll try to come up with an answer.
Yes.
So even if it's very, very small, no problem.
Yeah.
Obviously, all of these are in the Lenovo Press. But if you need help in terms of positioning, I have a requirement, Brian. I don't know if I should give DE or DM. I have a requirement, Brian. I don't know if this DM solution is correct. And I will help you size for it. So if you need 15 terabytes, if you need 200 terabytes, you send me an email. I will help you size. And then you can either have it done by TechPoint or you can do the configuration yourself. Okay? So thank you very much, guys,
Okay.
team.
Thank you.
Hey,
You
Brian.
and you and see you.
Thank you.
Brian,
See you.
Yes. So thank you.
could you please send me the update about the new server, new networking, and new storage tools to for learning?
You need the sorry, what is that? Can you send you the
New document or new presentation about the new product of Lenovo, such as DEDM or SunSuite?
okay. You need the sun switches also.
Yes,
Okay.
because at the moment our PC had some trouble with the old version of SunSuite. We
Okay.
cannot do it anymore on the system, so
Yes.
we cannot
So
order.
you're referring to the 6505s?
Yes.
Okay. So right now we're doing DB610, 610S and
Mm-hmm.
DB620s. So if you have any questions on that also, any BOM assistance, loop me in. I'll help you. But I will also
Yes.
send. I'll
We
also
just
prepare for. I'll prepare for.
we just need the information and
Okay. Okay.
yeah, go ahead.
I'll send. I'll create a separate short deck for sandwiches. I'll
Mm-hmm.
send it within
Okay.
today. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks,
Okay.
guys.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much. Hear
Okay.
from
Take
you
care.
guys soon by email. Thank you.
Hello. Hello.
Em nào. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.